welcome back to episode 16 of the Bullpen. This is going to be like part one of episode 16. We're going to do a part two later in the week just because we had 4 big events throughout the past week since our last episode. So we figured it would probably be best to split this up into 2 episodes just so we make sure we have enough time to really digest all of the events in Southern Illinois and talk through the Southern Illinois preseason ID and the GBA Scout Day. So we'll kind of take a couple days to kind of get some more information from the stats and all those kinds of things to look through and figure out who our favorite players were from the event, things like that. So today we're going to be talking about the Peoria preseason ID and the Chicago preseason ID. But first things first, how you guys doing? How was your weekend? Hammond, I know we were down in Southern Illinois and you were up in Chicago and Milwaukee. So how's everybody doing?
No, it was good. Definitely missed you guys, but I know it was good to have 2 events going on at once so we could see, as many people as we possibly could. It went well in Chicago. I don't know about you guys, but I always enjoy going to the Pullman Center, seeing that group of kids that, we don't typically get to see kids from up north there as much as maybe some kids in the suburbs, but no, it's always great. So yeah, tell me a little bit about your guys' trip. How was that?
Yeah, I thought it was great. Go ahead, Drew.
No, I was just going to say, like, kind of to your point, Peter, being able to run 2 events in one day. And I think that's the luxury that we've been able to build over the years here while building up our trusted staff is we're able to run, 2 high-quality events, have trusted people up there in Chicago. You are a elite scout in the Chicagoland area, kind of having you run the show up there with guys like John Rosner and Josh Fields and Chris Jelinek coming out to help work it and, a host of others, which then gives us the flexibility. Hey, there is only a certain amount of weekends and days that we get in this preseason. Like, we don't run events in January or December. We have not. And there's a reason for it. Like, we want guys to shut down. We want guys to play other sports. We try, so that is the main reason. Now, in the future, could we always throw together a January position player event or something like that? Absolutely. I would never kind of, put that past us. But our goal is to run as many events as we can, as close to the spring season as we can. So with that, yeah, we did have to split squad. It was a busy weekend for all of us, and we saw a ton of players. I mean, looking through your notes from Chicago, and then West Milwaukee's always loaded up there at the Sticks Academy. So I'm sure those Wisconsin guys saw a ton of good players. But we saw a bunch within the 2 days down in Southern Illinois, the Edwardsville, Wood River area over at the Sports Barn East. The Saturday I thought was loaded with just a lot of guys. Some guys that we had known about, the Anderson Kaufmans of the world who came out. He's a 2028. He's one of our, few guys that we have ranked in that class, but a ton of others, a host of follows that I know we'll get to in the days to come. And Gavin kind of touched on it. Like, man, we're catching our breath right now. We were all traveling. We're all getting back. We are looking through all of our notes. We're uploading all of our videos. We're making sure, everything is correct from the event. Before we can really get in there and dive in and make sure that we've had, an ample opportunity to look through our notes and really paint a clearer picture on some of these players. So that's why I think this will be cool. Like, we ran a lot of events. There's a lot of players to talk about, and I think it warrants having 2 parts to this, week 16 bullpen, Gavin. So, the viewers can they can expect, a part 2 to come out later this week.
Yeah.
But Pete, really appreciate you kind of running the show up there in Chicago, and I know it was a healthy number of players too. So I think today for all of us, it's, hey, we know we're not going to talk about everybody. It is, who are the guys that really caught our eye? Why did they catch our eye? And try to get some timely info out here for anybody that's curious.
Also, we also don't want to make it, we could easily make this like 3 hours, and we just don't want to do that, right? That's probably
to ourselves and the viewer.
Right.
Yeah.
That's pushing it, right? So we want to make it, easy to, soak in the information, not throwing too much at you. But yeah, also keep it like, there's going to be a ton more coming out with the post-event, the quick hits, the tweets. So this is not the end. This is only the beginning of the post-event content that we're going to be given out. But yeah, no, I think it's going to be good, giving some shout outs here.
Yeah, and Drew, the Sports Barn facility is just really nice. They do
yeah.
They keep it really clean, and it's a great facility. And I heard you mentioning really liking the turf down there. So yeah, that was awesome too. Just
Yeah, some of
everything
this
in there is
new
just very nice.
this new technology, I don't know if it's new technology or if it's a new way to lay turf, but some of these newer facilities I feel like are able to put in that turf without having the rubber pellets. So when you go home after an event, you're not having to take your shoes and socks off outside and dump it all out and everything. So no, that's just something that I appreciated. But
Yeah,
we've for years been trying to run events in Southern Illinois and Central Illinois, and we're kind of at the mercy of facilities. Big thing for us is having enough space to run a 60, and there's a lot of facilities down there, but not many that can you can actually run a 60-yard dash. A lot of them it'd be tight to run a 30 in there. So to be able to have a 60, to be able to have the ample amount of cages, have the full infield in there, it really allowed us to run a quality event the way that we kind of have become accustomed to and take pride in running these higher quality showcases and do it efficiently. So no, it was a good couple days, and like I said, there were a ton of takeaways. And that's kind of why I think it forced us to split this into two. It's just the amount of sheer takeaways that we have to talk about and guys that we came away like, wow, we need to dig more on him and him and him. So, and the
yeah.
unique thing about the GBA Scout Day was it was pretty much 50-50 Illinois, Missouri players. So we got to see kind of that whole St. Louis, Southern Illinois area.
Yeah, and you brought up Anderson Kaufman, and I'm not going to talk on him just yet. That'll be for part 2, but man, his bullpen was awesome. So I'm excited to talk through that and kind of look into the numbers and the video again and just see everything for a second time. But yeah, let's get into some baseball news here. Again, a lot of baseball, college baseball happening, Division I baseball happening. And the first thing we've got off the top here, I don't know if you guys want to go through each game, each series, but the first thing I saw, NIU beat SEMO 16-4 on Friday, and Cooper Cone, a McHenry kid, went 3 for 4 with a home run, 3 RBIs, and 3 runs scored. So good win there for them, 16-4. It's a ton of runs there, but Def, what do you got?
I was just gonna make a note. That is the older brother of Carver Cone, who we talked at length about last week, who was a standout from the McHenry preseason ID, early number 1 player in the state for that class.
Yeah, and I'll just kind of run through it really quick, I guess. Northwestern beat Harvard 5-1 on Saturday. Jack Lausch went 2 for 3 with a double, a walk, and a run scored. They beat Fordham 2-1 and 9-3 on Sunday. Illinois won their series against Texas State. Bradley won their series against Siena. And Eastern Illinois took one game of their series with Arkansas State. And we're recording on Monday. So on Monday today, they have a doubleheader. So we'll see how they do there. And then I actually just wanted to put Troy. I wanted to make mention of Troy on here just because their head coach, Skylar Mead, was on the show. He's a friend of the show. Troy is off to a 6-1 start, and their only loss so far is to Auburn, who was ranked number 25 at the time, and it was a 7-6 game. I didn't look into the box score or anything. I don't know if you guys saw that, but
yeah, it was a walk-off. I mean, it was a really close game throughout. And Troy, per our guys at D1 Baseball, moved up to number 21 nationally this week. Nice. So certainly getting some love for their 6-1 start.
Yeah, and I think they got a tough. I think they have Mississippi State maybe midweek this week. But you mentioned Eastern Illinois taking one game, and I got to throw some love because their starter Tyler Conklin, 8 innings. I just pulled it up. He went 8 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs, no walks, 5 Ks. He was one of my favorite arms I scouted. He's a Caneland High School alum, 2021 grad. We had him ranked 24th in the state back in 2021. So to see him throwing on Fridays for EIU and performing, it fired me up when I saw that stat line come across.
And Tyler, I think maybe there's something that you wanted to add here that you're not biting at the bit to talk about, which I'm surprised on, to be honest. But get in there.
Well, I didn't know if it was a joke or not earlier when you brought it up, but my alma mater, Wittenberg, opened up their season yesterday and got a victory over the number 13 team in the country, Baldwin Wallace. I mean, for those that don't know in Ohio, I mean, Baldwin Wallace is perennially a national program, very well respected and regarded in the state of Ohio. So Shout out to my guy, Coach Griff. Got his first win as head coach for Wittenberg. So big stuff. Hopefully not the last you hear me bragging about my Tigers this spring.
Yeah, always want to give some D3 love. I know Def's a D3 bandit, and you love to talk about it. So, yeah, bring it on. But all right, well let's look at some of these events this past week. We're gonna get into Peoria first, just because that was last Wednesday, and then we'll get into Chicago. The first thing I want to say about Peoria is obviously being in the central Illinois area, like I love these events. I love seeing the small town kids perform, and then kind of create my follow list for the spring and summer and things like that. But the Louisville Slugger Dome in Peoria is like a great facility, another one of these really nice indoor facilities that we have in the winter. So I love going to this event. I'm always super excited. It's one that I'm kind of high on, looking forward to when our schedule comes out. But if you guys have anything before we get into it, feel free.
No, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. That place is beautiful, especially for what we do. It's a huge open space. It's a massive dome, and we run it on a weekday evening with 60-plus players pretty much every year. So we're up against the clock a little bit. We're not trying to keep kids there till 10, 11 p.m. on a school night. So I know, we are running multiple things at one time. We've got a 60 going while defense is going, while we start hitting, and then eventually we get into pitching. So for me, I was over there with Pete watching all the hitters, and I know you and Tyler were over there kind of manning the mounds and stuff like that, along with Mike Anderson. So besides me thinking that it was one of the deeper events we've had, just with like the bats that came through that I was able to watch, you go back, you look at some of the event, you look at some of the grades that we had on our arms, and I was blown away with some of these arms that popped up. A couple guys that we didn't know about. There's one huge winner for me, maybe a couple huge winners, but that's the beauty of that event. Like, it's great. We saw, Cash Van Houten, Colin Schweigen. We're going to talk on these guys that are ranked in the 27 class that, are from the Peoria area, that choose to come to that event to be seen this winter, maybe then coming up to the All-State, or maybe they'll do both. But for them to come out and us get an updated look at them is awesome. But to me, it's great to see them and get an updated look. But it's all about the guys that pop up that we didn't know about. The Sam McCauley's from Normal West that I know we'll talk on, and some of these other guys. But I felt like there was a handful or more of those guys this year, and especially on the mound, a couple huge winners.
Yeah, and Drew, I think with that, the first guy to talk on is Caleb Cox from Lutheran High School. It might be Springfield Lutheran. I'm not exactly sure what they call it, but it's a small school. Def, I think you were looking it up, and you said 142 kids at that school in Springfield. So Caleb Cox, right-handed pitcher, he's a 2026. Def, did you have anything, or do you just want me to keep going?
I was blown away. So Mike Anderson, it seemed like he had a lot of good arms coming through his mound. We're talking after the event, and he mentions this long-levered guy up to 91. And I'm, up to 91, like, immediately piques my interest. We get the videos uploaded. I'm watching this video, and it is as intriguing as I've seen all winter. It's as intriguing as I've seen in a while. Like, you mentioned it. He listed Lutheran High School as his high school, so on his profile. It's not a lot of info. Like, we're having to dig. Like, I'm like, all right, which Lutheran is this? Let's make sure it's the right one. Check his address. Like, so we're pretty sure it's Springfield Lutheran. He does have a Twitter page out there, or an X page that you can go, get some more info on him. There's some videos. I was doing digging myself. And I would suggest anybody out there that needs a high ceiling right-handed arm with some raw arm strength and just an extremely intriguing, 3-pitch mix. Caleb Cox, 6'3", long levers. You can kind of tell he is still coming into his own. He's still figuring out his body. But the arm is all kinds of lively. The fastball was jumping out of the hand. He flashes some pitches in this in this raw video that are plus offerings. Doesn't repeat it every time. He's kind of eating up the catcher. Catcher's probably first time ever catching him. He's getting 91, and maybe not the best lighting in the entire world. And you can tell Caleb Cox is giving him all kinds of trouble. That's how dynamic his stuff is. And it's a guy we didn't really know. I never heard the name. And it's that to me is the beauty of what we do, and it's the beauty of giving these guys the opportunity. That him coming out and coming over from Springfield, wanting to get in front of us, like Caleb Cox, you deserve it. We are going to follow you now. And I thought the ceiling was huge, Gavin, up to 91 with the fastball. But like the breaking ball had really good spin and shape on it when it was right. Like it had some bite, I thought, and then also flashed like resemblance of a changeup. So I could not be more intrigued with him. I have no idea how it will look in game. Like, and that's the beauty of it too. Is like we got to go see. I don't know who Lutheran will be playing this spring, or if we need to see him in the summer. But he's a guy that just coming off that event, I was like, all right, we need to do all the homework we need to do on this guy right here. So if anybody else has anything on him, I know I'm going in on it pretty good, but that was me. There was a lot of takeaways from that event, but that one was like, wow, who potentially could have the highest ceiling here? I think I told you guys, like, in 10 years down the road, like, if that guy was on a big league roster, it wouldn't totally shock me. Just with the raw intrigue and, like, that's all God-given stuff that he's working with. So, and the body, I mean, wait till you see the high waist and the levers on this guy.
It fires me up seeing a kid from a small town like that. That is exactly what I love to see, just coming from a small town. Like, good for him. I'm happy for him, and we'll have to go see him in game. But I think moving down to the next guy here, I think one of the biggest takeaways for me for the high school season is Rock Ridge is going to be potentially really good this year, and that's something that we've all kind of talked about on the side. We saw 4 arms from them, and they're a 2A program, and they have 4 good arms. So I think that's going to be really helpful for them. So I'm excited to see Rock Ridge this year. I'll probably go out and see them a few times. But the first guy from Rock Ridge that we're going to talk about here is Colin Schweigen. He's one of the top prospects in that 2027 class. He's a football player, quarterback, and I saw his bullpen kind of to the side a little bit. I was on the other mound, but I was kind of peeking over a little bit, and I was asking him. It was the second bullpen of the year, so he's just kind of working his way up to 100% still. But 6'2", 195 pounds, really quick arm, had high spin on the fastball. His curveball just keeps getting better, in my opinion. Sharp action, has good spin as well. His changeup was 79, 81. But I just love the way he moves. Really quick arm, athlete, great frame. And since the last time we saw him at probably the super sophomore games, maybe was the last time we saw him, he's just gotten a lot stronger, a lot bigger. I think he said he's added maybe 20 pounds, 25 pounds, something like that, just since working out. He's a great kid, too. Love talking to him. But go ahead, Hammett, if you have anything with the bat.
No, I mean, you're definitely right. He looks like he got stronger for sure. I really like the athlete. I mean, he's a QB1, pretty high-level football guy. I know he's getting some love at some pretty big programs at the Division I level, but he was up to 97 miles an hour, and I really like the swing. There's definitely some upside in there. Worked on the barrel, not the easiest thing to do off the hack attack with that backdrop either, and he was a 7.04 runner. He's an above-average athlete, and yeah, it makes perfect sense why he's, he's a two-way, at least two sports. I don't even know if he plays anything else. But
I don't think he plays basketball. I think he's just a football guy.
Gotcha.
And baseball, obviously.
But no, seems to be good at everything he does, so I'd bet on that kid.
Yeah, and then taking a look at Cash Van Houten. Cash, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. I feel like I've always been back and forth with the last name. But another guy, he was not on my mound. I was peeking over, watching it a little bit. He was right next to my mound. And again, one of the top prospects in the 27 class. I think we have him ranked 10th right now. The kid just competes. He's an athlete. He's a competitor. Every time we see him in game, he dominates. He wins. He just, you can tell he loves to play. But his pen was electric. I mean, the fastball comes out of his hands so good. It's like 90, 92 at this event, and it's just so firm. Has life through the zone. He gets quality spin on it. And then a slider, pretty sharp action. Average 23.48 spin. Threw a changeup, 77 to 80. A sinker, and I think that's kind of new. I don't think he's thrown the sinker in the past that I know of. That was 89 to 90. So just a competitor and a guy that, again, obviously his velo just keeps ticking up, but even better, he's a gamer. And then Hammett, I know you saw him at the plate too, so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I've really ever gotten a bad look at Cash, to be honest. I really like the swing. It was up to 96, and I really like the way it works. He's got, good mechanics in the swing that I think will continue to allow him to hit moving forward. And he was a 6.97 runner at that event, so really good time. Yeah, I mean, I love Cash, love watching him play the game, and then seems like he just always shows well in front of us.
Yeah, I'll get in there a little bit. Like, it's kind of simple with him. He's a 2027, and he's got huge tools that pretty much maybe 1% of the other 2027s in the state have. So, I mean, he's different. He's dynamic. You look at the infield velos from the event, he was 94 crossed. Second best was 82. So you want to talk about, hey, like, this is the normal player coming to a showcase, and then there's Cash Van Houten. 6.97 runner, like you said, and he's got arm strength, 96 exit velocity. He's been up to 93, 94 on the mound this winter. I know he was 92 for us. Like, the guy kind of does everything. His arm strength may be his best tool, but we also love the way he plays the game. And I like him as a position guy. I like him as a pitcher, and I think he's got a bright future, kind of whichever way he wants to go. And hopefully it's both ways for now until somebody kind of forces him to do something. But yeah, he just continues to stand out, and I'm looking forward to seeing kind of what the future holds for him.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him come May, come June when it's warm out. In the summer, I'm excited to see him on the mound, obviously, at the plate and stuff. We've always seen him succeed for the most part. But next guy, Soogium Park, right-handed pitcher from Champaign Central. He is a 2025. He was on my mound. I heard about him last spring from Coach Staub. I was at a game, and he just, mentioned Sugi to me and was like, hey, you got to check this guy out. And I wasn't able to see him in the spring. We saw him multiple times throughout the summer. And then he comes to this event. He's 6'5", 217 pounds, really strong kid. Moves, simple mover on the mound, like there's not a ton of effort. Stretch only kind of delivery. That's what he was the other day. I've seen it kind of like a hybrid delivery before. But his fastball was consistently 88 to 89. His slider had sharp actions, and it was like upper 70s. And then he threw a splitter that had some good depth and sink to it or fade a little bit in the low 80s. And he is an uncommitted 2025 from Champaign Central. But Sugi, I was a big fan of him. I've liked him. So uncommitted name to note there too. So I don't know if you guys want to add anything to that. If not, I'll just keep rolling to my next guy.
No, I think the only thing with him is he's high academic as well, right?
Yep.
Engineering focus.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
I think those things are important when we get some inside info on certain guys. Like, I think it can first off help the player if we know kind of what he's looking for, and then it can help coaches. Like, if he's looking for a certain degree and I'm talking to a coach at a school that doesn't have that degree, then they're not going to waste their time. So it kind of helps both people out. But yeah, Sugi, high academic, one of the top uncommitted, 25s that we've seen in the state.
Yep. Drew, I know you kind of mentioned that Caleb Cox might have been one of the biggest winners from the event. But personally, from the guys that I saw, I thought Ryan Olkey from Rockridge, the left-handed pitcher, was one of probably my biggest winners that I personally saw. He's a 2026 uncommitted kid. Everything that I was hearing about him is that he, in the past year, is new to pitching or new to baseball and like really diving into the game, starting to do some training, starting to lift more. And I actually was doing some digging this morning, and we had a video from him in his profile at a tournament, and he was in Kansas City. And I implore anyone listening to this to go check out Ryan Olkey's profile and see that video from, I believe it was June 20th or 24th or something, and just look at his body and the way that he moves, and then look at this video that we're going to be posting here soon and will be in his profile soon of him pitching at this event. He has gotten so much stronger, it looks like, and the frame looks really good, but it still looks like he has the ability to add more to that frame. But he's 6'3", 190 now. His fastball at this event was 81 to 84, topped to 85. And then his curveball actually had pretty good actions, good shape to it. Like 1-7 shape, showed feel to throw it for strikes too. And then his changeup and splitter were his other two off speeds. But the way that he moves is super athletic, super easy, super loose, and I was very impressed by the pen. We didn't know about this guy. It was his first prep baseball event. Comes here and shows off and does a really good job. So I'm excited. He's going to be one to follow this spring, this summer, and moving forward. And he's an uncommitted name. No. So if you guys have anything, feel free to get in there. But
I just saw him warming up, Gavin, and I was way in. I didn't need to see kind of him pitch, like just the movement patterns like you're talking about. That's how it's supposed to look. And I don't know, him being a 26, where exactly he'll end up committing. But for me, it's not really going to be about where he commits, whether it's a D1, a lower level. Like, it's, for me, watch this kid in 6 years. That's a name we're going to continue to hear about for a long time, because that's only going to get better, especially if you're telling me he's new to pitching. Man, it is a silky mover, and I don't use that lightly. Like, it caught my eye, just playing catch, not even on the mound with the catcher. The body's right, the movements are right, and yes, I am all in. And you mentioned Rockridge, like the fact that they have him, and they've got Colin Schweigen, and then they've got this other lefty that we'll probably mention here soon. They are going to be a very, very interesting club. I don't even care if they hit it all. They're gonna warrant some looks, and they're gonna be a tough team to beat. If they need a catcher, that's one thing they do need. They need to make sure they have a catcher for those guys.
yeah, and then the next arm I want to mention is Dean Marchand. He was a 2028 from Dunlap, and as I was writing the quick hits on this event this morning, the one thing we mention all the time on this is that the velo and the metrics when you're younger do not matter as much as when you get older. I think Drew, you mentioned that, and you said that almost word for word last week. And with Dean, the metrics weren't crazy, like eye-popping, but I think he was maybe up to 80 with the fastball. But it is really loose, and it is really easy. And I'm just excited to see where he kind of his trend is. Each time we see him, I hope he continues just to trend up physically with his pitches, the metrics, things like that. But he showed some pitchability with his curveball. I thought the actions on it were pretty good again, like I've kind of been mentioning with some of these other guys. He had some sweep. It was kind of like a curveball slider. I can't remember what exactly he specifically called it, but Dean Marchand, good kid to know and good kid to follow out of Dunlap. And I see we have some hitting notes on him too, Pete, if you want to get in there.
Yeah, no, he took a good round of BP as well. Right-handed hitter. I thought it was pretty strong with some bat speed. It was worth noting, up to 90 miles an hour. But yeah, good athlete, one to follow.
And then Def, I'll let you get in here on two arms really quick, and then I have one to finish it out.
Yeah, thanks. First guy I want to touch on is Parker Roop from Normal University at 2027. Gavin, you were just kind of talking about how Olkey, was at his event debut. We'd seen him in a tournament in the past. This was like the same exact case for Parker Roop. First event, or showcase, I should say. And watching his Rantoul video from past June, and then watching the video I took of him from last week, the arm action has really loosened up and gotten very quick. In that time frame. So I don't know if he works with someone, in the off seasons, or if that's just, a natural maturation process for the kid. But man, it was a really quick arm. He's definitely an athletic mover down the mound. Fastball was low 80s, touched an 83, but it had a ton of horizontal movement, a ton of run. Really seemed like a true two-seam that he had feel for. The curveball had quality action and shape. Another pitch he had feel for. He had feel for all three of his pitches, really. And then moving on to his changeup, flash like swing and miss potential. He throws it with intent. A lot of younger guys tend to baby baby their changeups, and Parker didn't do that at all. So he was a big time winner for me, Pete. I know it seemed like he hit well for you too.
Yeah, I was excited when you said he threw it well. I was a fan of the swing from the side. He was a left-handed hitter. I thought it was really loose, really balanced. It was a little longer through the zone, but I thought it was really interesting, up to 92 miles an hour. So was he a left-handed pitcher?
Right-handed.
Right-handed, okay. Well, either way, left-handed bat, really liked it.
And then continuing on the theme of Rockridge arms, and this guy we've been very familiar with over the last few years, just like we are with Colin Schweigen. But my guy, left-handed pitcher Carson Deckerell, 2026, uncommitted still, has noticeably made some strides, I think, both physically, like with the body, as well as just performance-wise on the mound. He's now 6 foot 150, but there's still probably some room to go in that frame as he continues to get older and mature. But, in the past, I think the highest fastball we've seen out of Carson is 81. At this event, he was sitting 82 to 84. So has made a big-time jump there, especially to be able to sustain that velo throughout his pen. His curveball flash for me had late hard action to it when he got on top of it especially, and then the changeup showed potential as well. So very excited to see how Carson continues to get better. It's clear he has a pretty good work ethic about him, the fact that he's gotten so much better between August and now. So just another arm, Gavin, that you're going to have to go see at Rockridge this spring.
Yeah, and one thing I think I've always liked about him, Def, and I didn't see the pen the other day, but he's a really good mover. Like, it's just super easy, super athletic. So hopefully it's staying the same, and that's always a good thing to note too.
And one last thing, touching on that point, or adding to that point, is that I feel like in the past we've always seen him and known him to be a competitor in game too. Like I said, he wasn't an overpowering guy last summer, but the guy gets outs, and something I know Pete's touched on this podcast, like velo is not that important when you're young. If you can get outs without velo, it's a big telltale sign that, like, hey, you're going to have continued success as you get older and as that velo comes.
Yeah, and then the last PO that I wanted to mention is left-handed pitcher Brody Opendike from United Township. He's a 2026, and United Township is up in that Quad City area as well. I actually think it's in the Quad Cities. But he's 5'11", 170 pounds, athletic kid. And honestly, just what stood out to me, I remember sitting there writing evals. The first pitch I see is just the way he moves down the mound. It was very simple, but then he's got a really quick arm. It was 83 to 85 with the fastball. And I honestly, the off-speed and stuff, I think it's kind of developing. And, maybe the polish isn't there quite yet, but just the way that he moved, the arm action, how quick it was, and obviously the fastball velo up to 85, I really liked it. So we'll, again, another guy to follow and someone I did not know coming into this event. And, we'll have to follow him, see how he does maybe this spring in game or something like that, because it sounds like we're going to have to be up in the Quad City area quite a bit this spring. So Brody Opendike, 2026 from United Township. And then
before you get moving on to position guys, Gavin, so we're sitting here going through this podcast, we're talking about guys. I bring up Caleb Cox, first guy I talk about, and I'm always trying to, maybe it's the way my brain works or something, but always trying to find comps on guys, guys that have come through Illinois in the past that I've had, former history on, seen them develop. And I went back to watch the video just to make sure I wasn't like too crazy, but it definitely gives me McCade Brown vibes. Caleb Cox, the levers, the ease, like McCade was always pretty easy. He spun his breaking ball, at a high clip when you start talking about like RPMs wise. So he may have spun his breaking ball a little bit better than Cox, and I know Cox here out of the windup watching his video struggled to kind of get on top of it and get it out front, but it still showed me shape and like there's a chance for that thing to be a good pitch. But yes, if you want, go back, McCade Brown, he's got a video in his profile from 2/26/2017, and it's the body type and the ease in the delivery are very similar.
Yeah, it's a great comp.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see what the future's hold. I know McCade Brown is with the Rockies right now.
Yeah, he's with the Rockies.
I saw some video of him like 2 weeks ago throwing the ball really well. But you want to talk about easy upper 90s velo. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, and so let's look at some position players, Hammett. Before you get into that, I guess the first guy you have here, TJ Heatherly from Galesburg. He's a 2026. He was not on my mound. He was not on Def's mound, but he was up to 88 with the fastball at that event. Looks like he had some heavy run on it, curveball, change up to pair. Again, another arm, and Galesburg's not in the Quad Cities, but it's in that area just south of the Quad Cities. So again, just another guy from that western part of the state that I'm gonna have to try and get out to see this spring. But go ahead, Hammond, if you had anything.
Yeah, no, I set on hitting the whole time with Drew. So Drew, feel free to hop in here whenever. I figured I would just go kind of the same way I've been doing it, like by class, starting with 26 and kind of just brain dump. So yeah, sticking with TJ Heatherly, Galesburg 2026. I thought it was a good round with a ton of line drives. Thought his hands were pretty strong, and there's definitely some present strength there with bat speed. And he was up to 96 miles an hour for the EV, so definitely notable there. Moving down, Carter Brooks from Havana 2026. Where is Havana? Do you know that, Gavin?
Yes, it's like southwestish of Peoria, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it. Yep.
Interesting. All right. Well,
It's down in that Spoon River area.
Yep.
Cuba, Illinois is down there. Yeah.
Look at you, Drew.
Oh, I played in the MWAC. I coached in the MWAC.
Heck
I know
yeah.
all those small towns. I
Heck
drove
yeah.
through all of Central Illinois. Come on, Gab. I was driving, the little minibus, driving our guys around. I got to know the towns way too well. And then when you recruit those towns too, it sticks
Yep.
with you.
no, but Carter Brooks, I thought he was another one. I mean, there was a ton of great hitters at this event. Me and Drew were talking, like, the depth of the event, just the hitters, like, looking back at the grades that we threw down, like, there was a ton of good grades, a ton of great hitters. But I thought he was another one. Flashed some strength at the plate. Not the easiest to hit off the hack attack, but definitely some strength in there. And I thought he had some big-time blast metrics. He was averaging 72 miles an hour for the bat speed and 22 miles an hour for the hand speed. So pretty notable. Moving down to Quinn Scott, a United Township kid, 2026 still. He led the event in EV with 100 miles an hour. So pretty big-time juice there. And he had a 346 max distance for his furthest batted ball. And then sticking with impressive batted ball distances, Augie Loans. Is it Loans or Lonas? I don't want to butcher that.
I always say Loans, but it might be Lonus. I don't really know for sure.
Yeah, either way, Augie from East Peoria, another 2026. So he was second in the event with a 99 mile an hour EV, but he led the event with a 388 foot max distance. So that's pretty big time pop there. Moving down to some 2027s here. We'll start with Keaton Ariano from Geneseo 2027. Thought it was really strong, physical kid. He's a left-handed hitter. He's pretty toolsy. He was up to 95 miles an hour for the EV and a 709 runner, so not too bad for that turf. Moving down, and I know a name that Drew really likes here, Sam McCauley, a Normal West kid, 2027 still. I thought it was really lean strength, like projectable kid. Really fluid and easy swing. I thought it stayed through the zone really well. It was on plane, 95 miles an hour for the EV with some sneaky pop too. 336 max distance. That's pretty legit for a 2027 with his lean build. And then he popped a 201 with 76 miles an hour out of the chute. So pretty legit catcher too. Go ahead, Drew.
No, he struck me as a baseball player.
Yeah.
I really liked it. He was really repeatable on the barrel. I'm kind of a sucker for those loose, athletic hands at the plate that can manipulate the barrel, and he definitely is one of those guys. And you mentioned it, for his size, to be able to, get a max distance like that, he knows how to leverage his body. He knows how to use his body, and he's a guy, to me, and what I love about it is that is only going to get, more impactful as he gains quality strength. You're a lean guy like that looks young. As you continue to get physically mature and you have that fundamentally sound swing that's repeatable, that's loose, that's on plane, that uses the whole field, man, I really liked him a lot. And you pair that with the defense, like Normal West has themselves a backstop, and I know we're going to be over there to watch Chase Reinhardt for them anyway, so we'll definitely get a look at McCauley. And that was a guy I did not really know about. So yet another guy at 2027 to come out and do his thing and get in front of us, and he certainly he got his name circled.
For sure. I got two physical kids from Washington up next, both 2027s. We'll start with Mason Phillips. He's got some present strength. He's 6'1", 210. I thought he was on the barrel, throughout the round, up to 95 miles an hour. I thought he worked the middle of the field well and to his pull side, and there was definitely some strong hands with some controlled aggression. And I thought it moved pretty well at first base as well. And then Camden Viscogni. I hope I definitely messed that up.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah, Camden Viscogni, another Washington kid. Maybe one of my favorite rounds of BP on the day, just with the easy strength. 6'5", 203, big raw power. He was up to 98 miles an hour, and he did not even look like he was trying. That kid is going to hit some tanks this spring and moving forward. 342 max distance. Like, I was all in on that. Drew, I remember you had, I don't know, you I like when you get fired up with the track, man, when it's not like when you got it out there, but you're making some comments about him, like easy juice. Yeah, I mean, I was all in on that kid.
No, and I love seeing hitters from different angles. You know, some days it's great to be on the side watching guys from the side. You get a great vantage point from there. But, you know, I know you're on the side, so you're going to have your take on hitters. And if I'm out there feeding the hack attack, I'll just bring the TrackMan out there with me, and I get a whole nother vantage point. And what I love about it is you can see guys that can handle the plate, you know, who can handle a pitch down, up, away, in. Like, hey, he pulled that ball, but he probably shouldn't have, you know, or he kind of tried to work that one away, and maybe that's one that was middle in, and he should have just kind of let it eat to the pull, you know, to the pull side gap. But no, I think you hit it right on the head. Like, I thought there were a lot of physical frames in attendance at the event. He was certainly one of them, and it was easy juice. And I was just going through our list, looking through stats and stuff like that. I had to calculate it because I couldn't believe it. I can't remember the last just open an ID, you know, with less than 100 guys that had this many impressive exit velos. Like, we had 36 guys that had a 90-plus max exit velo, and 12 guys at a Peoria Open ID had 95-plus EVs. So I think that kind of just speaks to the physicality of some of those guys there and just how the quality of hitters that came through that event. And there's so many guys that I want to go back and watch videos on and see the side video to match it up with what I saw while feeding that hack attack. But I like all the names we have on this list, and I think it is Visconi, and he's definitely one to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. Yeah. It's good to hear that the eyes match the numbers, because like we were talking, like it was a great event from that night. Like, wow, a lot of great hitters here. And then we go and actually look, and it matches up. That's always a great feeling. But moving down, Ethan Cower, Sacred Heart Griffin kid, 2027, another lean projectable kid, 5'11", 165. Another loose and whippy operation, right-handed hitter this time. Athletic hands, 91 mile an hour EV with another sneaky kid with sneaky power, 337 max distance, and he looked to be an athletic defender on the infield for Coach Rosner over there. And then, man, these last names are going to be tough. But Creighton Schneerly, Bloomington Central Catholic kid, 2027. Just another one I like. Direct swing. Thought he worked through the baseball well with some whip and athletic hands. Hudson Lavelle, Morton 2027 kid, a catcher that I really liked. I think he's a name that needs to be thrown out there for catchers. Always an important position. 5'10", 190 with some strength. Thought the right-handed swing was strong as well. Looks to work on top of the baseball, and there's definitely some clear strength at impact. It's up to 95 miles an hour for the EV. Pretty clean glove to hand as well. 194 pop with a 78 mile an hour velo down to second. And then the last 2027 here we got is Evan Daxon Bickler from Limestone. Is Limestone where Jim Tomei went? Cool. Okay,
sure
yes.
Is.
They're shaking their head. Yeah. Okay. Another upside kid. We've seen him well in game, I believe. Is that correct? I know Def, maybe you're the one.
Yeah,
that
multiple times in tournaments. I know
Yeah.
you guys could probably speak on that, but we've seen that team that he plays on the same team as Cash Van Houten, and I'll let you speak on this, Gavin and Keaton Ariano and those guys. But yeah, Daxon Bickler, I just think he's a name to know, left-handed bat. And if there's anything to add there, but Hammy, you mentioned Creighton Schneierly. And once again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correct either.
We got two different.
But what I love about it, and he may not have been the only one, and this is like the beauty of it is there's probably some kids that were there that we didn't even know, but like he was emailing because he wasn't sure if he should come to the event because he had basketball practice. and wasn't sure exactly when he was going to get out and if he'd be able to get over there in time and all that. So he's coming off basketball practice in the middle of his season, coming over. He wants to get in front of us, and then he puts on enough of a show, impresses us enough in BP that we're mentioning him on this podcast. Like, to me, that speaks volumes to his athleticism. And I love that. Like, he's willing to, I don't know, he's willing to bust out of practice, drive over to Peoria. He's a Bloomington kid, and get in front of us. And we got him mixed into the group, and he really wasn't even late. And here he is getting mentioned. So, definitely makes me like, a guy like that even more. That if we just thought he was a, normal baseball player who was hitting in cages before he came to our event, we, would have liked him. But here he is coming from basketball practice. Who knows how winded he is, what kind of nagging injuries he's dealing with.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I can't speak on Creighton, his basketball skills as a whole, but Central Catholic is really good. They're 20-11 this year, 8-1 in conference. They're always a good basketball program down here in Central Illinois. A couple state titles, so just want to give some love there for that one too.
What else we got? We got some 28s that impressed us as well.
Yeah, a couple guys I want to mention really quick. Jameson Hanlon, Newman Central Catholic kid, 2028. I know I saw some tweet from him. He was hitting with Brendan Tunnick, another Newman Central Catholic kid. So that's a pretty good kid to hit with. We saw the Newman Central Catholic name, and that's the first name that came to mind is Tunnick. So it was kind of cool to see that he actually hits with him a little bit. But I really liked the swing and the upside. He was able to lift the ball too, some sneaky juice as well. Another common theme here. 339 max distance, and he was not very big. He was super lean and wiry. Definitely a name to follow. Kind of built similar to Tunnick. That like maybe not like exactly, but as like at like a younger age, like the lean and just wiry, high waisted type. And then Max Virgil will be the last one from the event. Just another upside name to know from Washington, 2028.
Watching him hit, what stood out to me was just how polished he was for a 2028. The swing was, the setup was how it should look. Like, he looked like a hitter in the box for a 2028, and then just being consistently on the barrel and showing feel to hit, really stood out to me. And if he's hitting with Brendan Tunnick, that's a good one to kind of just be by his wayside. Let alone, I think highly of Brendan Tunnick as a human being, but just the work ethic. You look at what Brendan Tunnick did with his body. He just seems like a cage rat and somebody that just worked himself into the prospect that he is. So I hope Jameson takes that same route.
So you're good. You're good here, Hammett, with the Peoria event. You want to move on? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Peoria, and then now this past Saturday, like we mentioned earlier, we had the Chicago preseason ID up there at the Pullman Center. That's actually in the city, right? It's more in Chicago. It's not like a suburb or anything like that.
It's a Chicago address.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
South side of this. Yeah. South side of Chicago.
So yeah, Hammett, I know you were the only one there, as we were all down in Southern Illinois, like we mentioned. So go ahead, any names you liked, get in there.
Yeah, there's a good amount. It was a pretty big event, about 90 kids, I want to say. But yeah, we'll start with 2026's here. First one we got Matt Young, a Lane Tech kid. I thought he had a good round of BP. He was a flatter path, strong hands, was able to create extension through the zone. He was able to leverage the baseball as well. Up to 90 miles an hour for the EV there. Arnie Rosenband, Whitney Young, 2026. He was more of an uphill path, but he still showed some feel for the barrel. Strong hands as well, and can keep the ball in a line. A 91 mile an hour EV for him. Now, a really interesting kid that is also going to be my prospect of the week, I think, here. Zolan Wyatt. I don't know how much I want to talk about him right now, if he's going to be my prospect of the week, but really projectable kid, 6'3", 195, big juice from the right side, and he could throw the heck out of it behind the plate, up to 83 miles an hour from the chute. So definitely a name to get on there. Brent Nevels, brother of Bryce Nevels, who is now at John A. Logan. He was a stud out of high school, and Brent looks to be kind of following after him. Super physical, especially in the lower half, a ton of present strength, but he had a ton of easy bat speed. Thought it was pretty handsy as well in a good way. And it was strong. He could lift as well, up to 97 miles an hour for the EV there. Amir Rule, a Brooks kid, 2026. Another one, bat speed with strength, was working in the middle of the field, which was good to see in BP, with some leverage, and he was 94 miles an hour for the EV. Moving down, we got a Leiden kid, 2026, Samuel Calderon. He had some feel for the barrel as well, another impressive round, 92 miles an hour there. Christian Clark from Mount Carmel, super simple, ton of strength there, 95 miles an hour, pretty flat. He showed some feel to hit as well. Alex Ziegler, he was just kind of like an all-around athlete. He showed well both with the bat and on the mound, but up to 97 miles an hour for the EV with bat speed. It was pretty direct, strong hands again. He was 84 on the mound. I thought it was pretty athletic there. And then moving down, Jack Giannikos. We're kind of in the arms here now for the 2026s, but Jack Giannikos, he's been a standout at this event in the past. And he was actually my uncommitted prospect of the week a few weeks ago. So I got to talk to him a little bit. Really good kid. Fully healed now. He had an injury, I believe, in June or like May, but he's all good now. Up to 87, so he's already taken a step with the velo. Really loose mover. Really elastic too. Like it's super, super loose. The curveball and the slider both sharp with depth. And he could throw them, he could throw them around the zone as well. And he flashed a good changeup too with some fade. Kind of got under it at times, but when he stayed on top, it had good direction and good shape. But in the last 2026 we got here, another arm, Amir Rule. He's a left-handed arm. I thought the arm really worked, both on the infield and on the mound. But he was up to 83. Sharp curveball, 67 to 71 miles an hour. And he had some depth on the changeup as well. And then moving down to the 2027s, one of the biggest takeaways, if not the biggest takeaway on the day, was Brady Cunningham. He has put on, man, I don't even know how much muscle, but he is noticeably stronger and leaner as well. Like, I almost did a double take when I saw him, but he got after it in the weight room, packed on some real muscle. And it showed. I mean, super, super loud round of BP. It was up to 105 miles an hour. And I mean, it was all over the barrel. It was not like too much intent either. And I was telling him, I was like, dude, I liked you. I thought more as an arm, but now I really don't know. He did not throw that day, though. He's going to throw at our All-State. But no, that was really good to see him there. I've long liked the bat, but it was just 105s. That's big boy numbers there. Moving down, Eric Acevedo, a Lane Tech kid. Thought it was really fluid and athletic. Really good defender as well. Soft hands, confident. Thought he had really good footwork. Just an athlete. Another athletic kid that you need to know. Mikey Watson. He's a name that our staff is pretty familiar with as well. And just another athlete. He was up to 95 miles an hour for the EV and averaged 88. So worked on the barrel throughout. It's a longer swing, but it's definitely athletic, and there's some upside there. Xavier Martin, one of the toolsier kids. He was up to 101 today, or sorry, not today, over the weekend, 101, and he's added some velo to the mound as well. Like just what I was saying, like a toolsy kid. He was about like 80, 81, 82 maybe in the fall. Now he's up to 86 on the mound. So clearly he's making strides there. Colin Sims, one of the more intriguing frames walking around. There was definitely some interesting frames there. Some really projectable, strong frames. But Colin Sims, St. Ignatius kid, 6'2", 190. I asked him like multiple times because I had asked him initially, like, hey, where do you go to school? Because like the frame stood out, so I wanted to know. And he told me, and I actually asked him again later on, not realizing I'd already asked him that. But 6'2", 190. He was up to 83 on the mound. Was able to sink it a little bit, and longer flat path at the plate as well. Worked on the barrel, 94 mile an hour for the EV, and he moved well at first base as well. And then the last 2027 we got here, Carlos Gonzalez from Taft. I was a big fan of Carlos on the mound. Really controlled mover, southpaw, clean, repeated well, up to 81 miles an hour. There was some clear life out of the hand as well. With a good downer, like 11.5, 1.7 type curveball in the mid-60s. His changeup showed some hard dive as well in the mid-70s. And then my first 2028 here, Gavin Jones from Bishop McNamara. He's a kid that we've long liked. Super athletic. Really liked the kid too. Super good kid. He kind of just did well at everything that everything that he did that day. I really liked the athlete. Super loose and projectable left-handed swing. Thought he took a really good round. And was able to use the whole field. I thought he looked good both in the infield and in the outfield. And then on the mound, he was one of the best arms there. He's up to 80 miles an hour with a clean arm, and he was ripping off like a true sweeper with some depth, like 2,600 RPM slider. So there was some big upside there on both sides of the ball. Haven Gamboa, a Mount Carmel kid of 2028, he had a really good round as well. Fluid. He had some feel for the barrel, and he looked to be a steady defender both in the infield and the outfield as well. And then lastly here, another one of the biggest takeaways of the day for me, Brock Hamilton, Homewood Flossmoor, another 2028. He showed well at the event last year. I remember vividly thinking, because he stands out. He's 6'4", 210. He's got grown man strength. He is, as physical as could be for that age. He was up to 91 miles an hour for the EV with a pretty loose and easy operation at the plate. But on the mound is where he really took a giant step forward. I don't know off the top of my head what he was last year. I think maybe about 80 miles an hour on the mound, but now he's up to 86. And it's really easy, pretty fluid, controls his body pretty well for that size, and that's only going to get better as he, continues to learn and figure out his body and control the levers, but he could also land the curveball for strikes. So yeah, just a name that we definitely going to have to follow, and he's at Homewood Flossmoor, so we'll definitely be able to see him quite a bit, but yeah, I thought it was a great event. Like I said, 90 kids there, so the best turnout we've had at that event. So that was great to see.
Yeah, well, that kind of wraps up our event talk. But like I said earlier in the episode, we will be talking about the Southern Illinois event, or both Southern Illinois events, in our part 2 of this episode, which will probably come out on Thursday or Friday. But I'm going to give you a little bit of a break from speaking so you can get some time to relax before we're talking about your prospect of the week. But Tyler, I'll let you get in there and talk about your guy.
Yeah, my guy this week is Anthony Chavez, first baseman out of Mount Carmel. Now, I know probably talked about him in the fall on this same podcast because I feel like Chavez is really starting to turn into just a big-time performer for our staff. We've long liked him. He's ranked in our 2026 class, and he might have been the best hitter on, it's a really talented Mount Carmel team last spring. I know Drew was talking to our future game arms, and a lot of them just kept bringing up Chavi. And listen, he's 6'3", 210, but ran a 7.07 at our state games, which is really impressive for, a kid that size. So he clearly, got some athleticism within that frame, but left-handed hitter, can just really hit, I think. Has some real feel to hit. The power's going to come. Don't really need to worry about that right now. That's just going to continue to come as he gets older and continues to mature physically. So, big fan of Chavez. He's going to be, hitting in the heart of what should be one of the better Mount Carmel one of the better lineups in the state over at Mount Carmel this spring. So, excited to see what he does.
And then my uncommitted prospect of the week is shortstop and right-handed pitcher Leighton Gertis from Fieldcrest. He's a 2026, and he's 6'1", 183 pounds, and he just strikes me as like an athlete with some lean strength. And we have him ranked number 121 in the class. On the mound, I think he's a pretty clean, athletic mover, and he's got a really quick arm. We've seen his fastball up to 85. He's got a curveball and a slider and a changeup as well. And then at the plate, he's a right-handed hitter. Max EV at 92.9 miles an hour, and I believe that was at the state games. He's a 7.16 runner. He's at an average bat speed of 71.27 miles an hour, 86 mile an hour across the infield. And defensively, I was just watching the video again this morning, and he's got some actions at shortstop too. So probably a guy that could potentially play two-way at like a JUCO or something like that. But no, Leighton Gertis out of Fieldcrest. He's a name to know that's uncommitted. And then Pete, go ahead and I'll let you get in here if you're ready.
Yeah, Leighton's a name that I've actually liked in the past as well, so that's a good shout. But like I said before, I'm going to go with Zolan Wyatt for my uncommitted prospect of the week. The Lane Tech 2026 I had mentioned earlier. The frame's kind of how you draw it up, 6'3", 195. There's some strength there, but there's definitely more to come. Long levered, right-handed hitter, big juice, up to 103 miles an hour. I'm super excited to see what he can do this spring. And like I mentioned before, pretty loud tools behind the plate. 83 miles an hour for the pot or for the velo, and Fields had mentioned that he was like around 1.9 for the pop time. I know it's not in the profiles yet, but around 1.9, and he is not typically a fast watch, so that's pretty legit for him. And then he was actually a 7.27 runner. And then he's also a 7.27 runner in the 60. So for that size, that's not bad at all, especially for being a catcher as well. It looks like he's a secondary first baseman. So again, not a bad run time for that position profile. But Zolan Wyatt, definitely a name that coaches are going to have to get out and see this spring.
And I'm going to steal a guy that we just saw this weekend, Gavin. Tyson Filial, and I don't know if that's how you pronounce it either, but he's down at O'Fallon. He's a two-way guy. I've long known him as an arm. I've really liked him as an arm. His body looked really physical at the event, and it was upper 80s. With a little feel there, with some secondary that's developing. But what really took me away, and the reason I wanted to bring him up and just kind of throw him a shout out for my player of the week was like, I thought the bat was pretty real. I didn't know much about him as a hitter. Like I said, I like the arm, but then man, like you factor in the bat, like first off, it's going to help O'Fallon, I would think, because they're going to have some arms. It would help fill out their lineup. But he swung it with like very repeatable, balanced, fairly easy swing, and it was strong and loud off the bat. So that's going to be my prospect of the week. Tyson Filial. I think it, bodes well. The fact that we were down there this weekend, I want to give somebody from down there a shout out, and also just chatting with them, had a good time kind of talking to them at the event.
Well, that wraps up part 1 of episode 16. Appreciate all the players that we got to see this past week. Appreciate the parents for bringing them out. And we'll see you next time on part 2 of episode 16.